Yeah, I am the tax man here on AM 560. The answer. You missed it, Jim. I'm here with my.
Oh, well, you
with
were.
my.
I'm Ringo. I'm in the background. I'm just playing the drums.
I'm here with our technical producer is Deborah Schreiner. My co-host is Jim Leahy, and you, the listener.
And now, here's that man with a head just crammed full of knowledge, Mr. Know-It-All.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Know-It-All.
Here's the question: do debts ever get so old that you don't have to pay them? And the answer is sometimes, yes, they can. This is what they call the Statute of Limitations. Okay, and here in Illinois, the law changed a couple of years ago. You know, for me, a couple of years. My kids always say, "Your couple of years or my couple of years?" Because their couple of years is a couple of years. Mine can be up at 15 years ago. I'm not sure exactly how long ago, but it seems like yesterday that we had the law here in Illinois was if I had a credit card debt and somebody was going to sue me, they had to do it within 10 years of the last time I used the card. But that's the statute of limitations for written agreements. So they were saying, well, this is a written agreement. We have an agreement with them, and that's a written agreement. Well, some years ago, the Illinois Supreme Court said it's not a written agreement. It's a new agreement every time you use the credit card. So if you haven't used it, so it changed the statute of limitations. It changed it from 10 years to 5 years. So now if I have a credit card and I haven't used it in 5 years and they haven't sued me, then I have an affirmative defense. Now, they still might bring an action against me, and there's been some court cases where collectors have brought cases against people that they know are beyond the statute of limitations, and whether that was a violation of the Fair Credit Reporting Act or Fair Debt Collection Practices Act. And the courts have said, no, it's not a violation because you still owe the money, but you can't. But they're not supposed to be able to bring an action against you to collect it. So you can bring that as an affirmative defense and say, okay, I do owe that money, but it's beyond the statute of limitations, and so I don't have to pay it, and this case should be dismissed. And there's different statutes of limitations depending on, again, as I mentioned, with, for instance, your mortgage. That's a written agreement. That's 10 years. We say, well, if I had a second mortgage and I haven't paid it in 10 years, does that mean it's gone now and they can't sue me? And the answer is no, because as long as there is a date that it comes due, every month a new payment comes due, it starts the 10-year statute again. Now, if you've gone through it matured 10 years ago, then probably yes, it is beyond the statute of limitations. But mortgages kind of they almost, especially a 30-year mortgage, you have to wait for the 30 years to go before the 10 years thing starts. So now talk about taxes. Is there a limit on how long the IRS can collect? And this we've talked a lot about on this show, the IRS Radio Hour, about the CSED. And the CSED is what they call the collection.
He said, seashells by the seashore.
The collection statute expiration date, and that's 10 years from the date of assessment. Now, then people say, well, why is the state of Illinois still coming after me? It's been more than 10 years because the statute in Illinois for Illinois taxes is 20 years. So they come after you for 20 years. And that goes a long way back, man. I've had many clients come to see me, and it seems like that was a whole lifetime ago. And the IRS isn't coming after me anymore, but Illinois State's still coming after me. And that's just the way it works. They have 20 years to come after you. And so it depends on what kind of the debt is, on how long it is. But the answer in a general sense is yes, there's a statute of limitations about how long they can come after you.
What is it like dealing with a case that's 20 years old with the state of Illinois coming after for, how complicated can it get?
It gets complicated because you can't get any records, and you probably don't have any records, so it's hard to even fight it because they say one thing, and you probably don't have the records to rebut what they're saying. And so it gets, the older something gets, and that's one reason why we have statutes of limitations, is because the people, first the person that's owed the money should take action against you, because oftentimes the the person who is trying to defend it doesn't have the records anymore, and so can't defend it. So it doesn't mean that I violated it or that I owe you any money. I just I can't defend myself anymore, and that's one reason why we have these statute of limitations, and that's why it's so important also to know about them, and so but also to realize that just because a debt is a couple of years old and they haven't come after you, that they won't come after you. And this happens a lot in second mortgages where people had, back in the 08, 09 had a problem, modified their first mortgage, never made another payment on the second mortgage, haven't even heard from the second mortgage in 10 years. And so now all of a sudden people are getting sued because that statute's coming up. And so people are starting getting sued on these second mortgages. Anyway, I hope that answered your question.
Thank you, Mr. Know-It-all.
That's right. Thank you, Mr. Know-It-all. If you have a question for Attorney Steven Leahy, feel free to give him a call, 312-664-6649, or you can get a copy of your free IRS book, which might help you solve these questions.
Deal with your IRS problem today.
Yes. Go to freeirsbook.com. It's
freeirsbook.com.
one more, gang.
freeirsbook.com.
Go over there, get your free copy of your free IRS book.com. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, remember Opem Tax Advocates is the sponsor of this show. Their phone number again, Trace 312-664-6649.
You couldn't get through all
I
that.
could. Trace 1-2-6-6-4-6-6-4-9.
Trace uno dos.
But, okay, we'll be right back on AM 560. The answer.
Gee, Mr. Know-It-all, can't you win any friends with that book of yours?
Oh, sure, Doc. One man promised to be my friend for the rest of my life because of this book.
Who is that?
The publisher. I promised never to write another one.